But for somebody that has no idea what probation service is, can you give us a kind of an overview of the function of the probation service?
I can, I hope. If I can't, I'm in trouble anyway.
You are.
Yeah, after 39 years, if I don't know what we're doing. I suppose the probation service works in prisons, in all of the prisons in the state, and provides a service there. But most of the work of the probation service is in the community. And we accept referrals from the courts and complete assessment reports for the court, which the court then uses to inform their sentencing decisions. Very often at the end of that, somebody is placed either directly on probation at their sentencing hearing. But since 2006, there is a provision for what we call a dual order, where somebody gets a period of custody followed by a period of post-release supervision. So there are two different kinds of orders, but a lot of our work is done in the community. We start off with whoever we're working with at whatever stage of the process. We kind of engage with them with doing an initial assessment. And that initial assessment is about, working with the person to establish what kind of factors in their life, what's going on in their life that contributes to them getting into trouble. And then we work with them throughout their period on probation supervision to address whatever those issues are, whether they're around use of leisure time, peer associations, some of their own kind of attitudes and beliefs about themselves and about their place in the world and their communities. Addiction and substance misuse is obviously very high up there as well, because that's a very regular issue that people becoming before the courts would experience.
When myself and Timmy was in very early recovery, Timmy was just after getting out after doing a few years, and I was doing community service. Timmy was on community return scheme. What did you make of the community supervision element of the sentence, Timmy? Do you think it benefited you?
Definitely kept me in track, because when you come out of prison, or when you're in early recovery, you still have some behaviours that don't benefit you. So the probation service just kind of kept me in line a little bit with appointments and keeping me going to the community service, which was up in the IDP that got at the time. No, it definitely helped. I had a question there as well. No, it's not relating this. How young are the people, the people that you work with? Like, is it teenagers? Do you work with young children as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do have a branch of the probation service called Young Persons Probation, and there are dedicated teams for young persons probation in Limerick, Cork and Dublin, and then probation officers in different teams around the country then would also work with young people. But I suppose we have dedicated teams where there's a kind of a critical population of young people, and they'd be generally the kind of the bigger cities. So we I suppose the age of criminal responsibility is 13, I think. So there's the potential for somebody that young to come before the courts. But I think, with all the kind of Garda diversion projects and the Garda diversion initiatives and processes that are in place, generally speaking, 15 or 16 would be the youngest that we'd be working with now. That wasn't always the case when I joined the probation service in 82. The age of criminal responsibility at that stage was 7, and I do remember, there was a children's court on a Saturday in Limerick, and they were very young, children in the courts at that point.
Were these kids then, if they were convicted, were they sent to homes then, or were they put into homes, like if they were after committing a crime back then?
I suppose it was a bit more complicated than that. It depended on their circumstances and other things that were going on in their lives. Like if there was, you know, a robust and good support structure for them in their homes, that was obviously the best place for them, and they stayed within their homes. But you know, some of them
they needed to be put at this level.
Yeah.
I remember my earliest interaction with probation services was I was 15, and they were very, very helpful. You know, they really helped me at the time to get into a treatment centre down in Clonakilty, and there was a lovely man helped me as well. You know, I won't mention his name now because you know, but he was very, very helpful. You know, and going back to what you were saying there about even the supervision, I had some fantastic people working with me inside in the office in Cork. They were very helpful. When they see me, like their initial contact with everybody, they have to look at them and judge them and by their actions and turning up to meetings and see, are they really sincere about their recovery, are doing well in society or whatever it may be. And I suppose when they did find me somebody that was really, really trying to turn my life around, they really gave me a little bit more leeway. And it benefited me in the end. You know, I met some fantastic people in there. And
I remember, you know, a lot of young fellas, or not a lot of young fellas, but quite a few young people generally, young adults would, you know, if they're after being in trouble for the first time, and because myself and Timmy now are known as people as being through this, they kind of come for advice, you know, I'm on probation, what's it going to be? And I said, it's like this, said, you write that report yourself by your behaviour. Like the probation officer won't write anything. He's not going to write, or he or she is not going to write anything just for the sake of it. If you're turning up for your appointments, that will be noted. If you're not turning up for your appointments, that will too be noted. If you want a favourable probation report, you make sure you turn up for your appointments, you do what you're supposed to be doing, and if that happens, you don't worry about anything else. You know, but people have this. Some people maybe that don't know, I'm on probation, you know, the probation officer's going to write this bad report. The probation officer will not write that report unless you give him a load of ammunition to do that, you know. So would that be a fair enough thing to say?
Oh, I think it is absolutely fair enough to say. Like, we would have no interest in writing a bad report. You know, if anything, we're looking for the positives, and we're looking for the hooks towards desistance and towards progression and towards, you know, a more positive future. Because I suppose one of the things that we would see, both from kind of research and also from our own experience, that involvement in the criminal justice system can be really life limiting for people. You know, it can be limiting in terms of employment prospects, in terms of travel, in terms of, you know, missing out on family. You know, I've sat with loads of men down through the years who weren't at home when the first tooth came up, who weren't at home when the first step was taken, who didn't hear the first word, you know, from their child. So they you know, they're missing out an awful lot, you know, in that context. So, you know, we would be looking, as I said, for the positive, looking for the hooks, and see it as part of our role, not only to look for them that are there, but also to create kind of an enabling environment where that desire, you know, towards change and towards desistance can be nurtured and encouraged and supported.